Okay, so this is the main part that I want to talk about because this is something that Trump has said a couple times now. And he said that because RFK basically came out and said that if he wins, he's going to remove the capital gains tax on Bitcoin. And everybody got real excited about that. But you have to understand what capital gains is and where we are right now and what a legal tender is. I've been talking about this on the show for a while now. And with the legal tender in El Salvador, that means it's just a currency. We know that it's not a security. We know that it is a commodity and it's legal tender in a country. So I really believe that if they came after you and said that you sold all this Bitcoin, you bought it, you sold it for a higher price, you have to pay tax on it, you could just say that you're exchanging currency. And I really believe that unless you're moving like a million or $2 and you cash out on that, you might have a little bit more of an issue with that. But for the most part, I think that we're already kind of there where you don't need to pay capital gains on Bitcoin. But the other part here, then this is the main thing, is that he once again said that there's not going to be any tax on tips. And I think when people hear that, they think of like a server at a restaurant or everybody wants tips now. I went to fucking Subway yesterday and they want a tip. We went from a $5 foot long to a $15 foot long, and they want a 30% tip on that. Another thing there, we're eating at a restaurant on Saturday night, and I went to pay for the bill, and the tip options were 20%, 25%, and 30%. I said, what the hell is this? It used to be like, I said it used to be 10, 15, and 20. But thinking back even further than that, it used to be like 3%, 5%, and 8%, I think. So you're paying income tax, you're paying property tax, you're paying state, provincial, federal tax, and you're paying carbon tax here in the US. Plus, the servers want an extra 20%. That's pretty much a tax to you. So at the end of the day, you make money, you make $1, you're probably keeping like fucking $5 from that now. But okay, and this is Ian said, no Bitcoin toss today. Yeah, there was one. We had Noah won one and Rick won one. So we had two winners today for the Bitcoin toss. Ian, you were just a little bit late. We do it at the start of the show. AD says, my Bitcoin stack identifies as tips. And that's the next thing that I want to talk about here, is that he said that there's not going to be no tax on tips. All right. And like I said, people assume that that's just focused on, because we still have this fiat mindset. We're just thinking simply in the restaurant workers, maybe the dancers in Las Vegas, those kind of tips. But you have to think about it in a different way, because here's what's going to happen. And even with the way things are right now, if you think about Nostr, if you think about Zap.Stream, if you think about where this world is moving to here in terms of everything's going to look different, and the humans are being replaced by robots. We're not going to be doing the jobs that humans do in 10 years from now. Robots are going to be doing those jobs. Robots are going to be accepting Bitcoin. And do robots pay taxes? So with that, and as AD says, my Bitcoin stack identifies as tips. I'm going to say something different. I'm going to say my income identifies as tips. So we now have the ability with Bitcoin, with the internet, we now have the ability to, regardless of where we are, we can work for anyone else on earth without any friction there. If I wanted to consult with somebody in Afghanistan, they could pay me now in Bitcoin. Nobody knows about that transaction. That could be a tip or income, depending on how you look at it. But what if it's a tip? What if everything that I do is just a tip? What if even for King Golf, what if I'm just a company and I make things for people, my products or services? What if those are just tips? And I make money on that, and What are you going to do about it? What's the difference between a tip and income? Somebody tell me. Because without that, I would be paying tax on the zaps we've got from Zap.stream. I'd be paying tax on the zaps from Nostr. I'd be paying tax on everything. But if you really think about it and think about where we're moving to here, because in a decade from now or less, the world's going to look completely different. The system that we live in right now is going to look completely different. Whether that's people working, whether that's the AI, whether that's the tax structure, everything is going to look completely different. So if you just say, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to sell my products or services online, and I'm going to consider everything to be a tip. All income that I get is just a tip. I'm going to send them a hat, and they're going to give me a tip, whatever they want to do. I could send them a price, but I don't have to. And they send me some money back. Maybe they don't know that I gave them a price, but they send me some money, which is a tip. What's the fucking difference between a tip and income? Tell me. And that's the delay here is going to be because there's going to be people working still. And an employee is going to have a hard time saying that those are tips. So to me, that's just another reason to start thinking about this now. If you're still working a 9-to-5 job, if you're still out there earning income, which they have your address, they have your social insurance number, they have everything, and they're making payments to you. Not only are they taking tax off the top of that, but they're taking CPP here in Canada. They're taking EI off of that. They're taking payroll tax off of that. When by the time it arrives to you, it's already lost fucking 40% of its value. So to me, that's just another reason to start planning now. If you're still an employee, you're still employed by somebody, because those are going to be the only people paying tax in the next few years. So just think about that statement there, because that's what's going to happen here. But think about that statement. Our government is in 35 trillion officially now, $35 trillion worth in debt, or the US government is. And if less and less people are paying tax, which is their main source of revenue, what the hell happens to the government? Do you think that they're going to get more powerful or less powerful? Do you think they're going to have a greater ability to look at all your transactions or less? So think about that, because this is, if you can foresee what's coming here, you can set yourself up in a way to prepare for this. And I'm kind of under the opinion that I'm really wondering how they're going to tax Bitcoin. It's probably still going to be up to you for a while to declare that you're earning Bitcoin or you sold some Bitcoin. But eventually there'll come a time where they're not going to have an ability to look at that. And that's why, the whole energy thing, the whole Bitcoin mining, natural resources replacing human resources, that this whole thing fits perfectly into that narrative of where we're going to here.